Is Citizen Sleeper worth our time? We're about to find out. Welcome everyone to episode 205 of 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. I am Chris.
And I am Tom.
And we take 60 minutes and play a random game on Xbox Game Pass and decide, well, Tom, in space, do they know you're sleeping?
When do you sleep in space is probably the better question. Without a day-night cycle, right? You're just making it up.
Yes, you are. And we'll talk about it a little bit here, as we are going to be talking about Citizen Sleeper, developed by Jump Over the Age. It's quite the name.
It is. I don't understand it, but
no, me neither. But this is what we got. And this game did come out in kind of a split release, which is kind of odd. May 2022 on Mac, Windows, Switch, Xbox One, and Xbox Series consoles. And then the following year, March 2023, on the PS4 and PS5.
Late to the PlayStation.
Yeah, I guess there's some sort of exclusivity. We'll get into it. Maybe in our dislikes. I don't know. But I played this on the PC. 1.16 gigabytes on the PC. Tom, what about you?
Still pretty small on the Series S, but bigger. 1.53 gigabytes over there.
Okay, all right. It's a little game, a little bit of a game, I guess. But what kind of game is it?
I put sci-fi visual novel.
Ooh, okay. I put interactive fiction. I had to look this up a little bit because I was like, I felt like I've played this kind of game before somewhere. And I was like, it's obviously not a point and click adventure game.
No.
It's not I guess it could be a visual novel, but there's a little bit more that you do.
Yes, I agree. It moves. I was thinking about putting like visual novel with RPG elements was maybe what I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So I looked up Wikipedia. Apparently there's a word for it. You know what I thought it was? I thought it was more like a MUD, but not a MUD. It was like a text-based adventure game. That's what I thought it was. Like that's the closest thing I could think of.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair. If you were alive in the 80s and 90s. And played video games on the computer, you may have encountered something similar to this, though not quite the same, because now we have graphics.
Yes. For the most part. Some games, maybe not so much. But let's talk about that game loop. What is that?
I have read through a sci-fi story, allocating dice to different tasks to unlock paths to advance and survive.
I put interact with dialogue and use your die to take chances in tasks.
Yes.
So
those are the two primary things you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. And now we need to switch gears and talk about what we liked about this game, Tom.
I liked the way that it opened and it presents you with these personality profiles for the different character types. Again, not knowing what kind of game it was, so I'm going in completely blind. I liked the way they described that. It's like, this is a good character type for the kind of person who is like X.
Yes.
It was a good, sometimes, there's a decision paralysis in terms of starting a game and picking a character. Now, there's not that many to pick from.
Yeah.
But it did make this, reading through the 3-4 bios, whatever they were, it made it easy for me to pick one.
There was 4? I only saw 2.
You probably only went right from the starting one.
You could go left?
Yes.
Oh, sneaky developers.
Yes.
Okay.
It gives you, I assume, it sounds like, it puts you in the center of 3 or 4 character cards, and you can go right or you can go left to pick character types.
Okay. What did you? No, I don't even remember the name of the class, but I picked the one that was like more, not like the closest thing I can understand is like there was like a brawler or like one that's like more physical, and then there was the one that was just more like letting you chat with people or like use more of your brain. I picked that one, but I don't know what the third one was. So.
Yeah, there was one that utilized drones to do its handiwork.
Oh, wow.
There was one that was an engineer, and I think that's where I went, which I think was the far left one.
Got it.
And then there was, like you said, the more brawlery one.
Yeah.
I also don't recall the name of the 3 or 4 classes.
Should have wrote that down.
Shame on me.
Yes, shame on both of us. So I apologize for everyone who's like, a big Citizen Sleeper fan because there are a lot of people that are really into this game. The game does have a slick interface, I will say too. It's a pretty clean looking UI, and just like how you navigate, or at least like visually navigate the game, is pretty nice looking. And
I liked it visually in general. Like I think their aesthetic was cool.
Yeah,
like looks very future possible, like a future I could believe in. You know, sometimes there's science fiction and it's like, yeah, this is crazy sauce.
Yeah,
and then this one is more like, with corporations and the way things are going, like you could totally see it. This scenario seems plausible,
right? And the other, I mean, with that in mind, with the interface, I thought the artwork when you get to see it, that was pretty good, and music was like, I guess kind of fit the space sci-fi vibe that it's going for, like kind of neo. Is that neo? Is it neo noir? Like the cyberpunk-ish kind of world that you're kind of in. And like the artwork kind of reminded me of like Steven Universe a little bit, but like more grungy, or
I could see that,
something like that. But I was like, oh, I like it. It looks good. But
let's see, what else do I got here? I think the game does a lot with a little. I thought it was pretty good at conveying feelings through the combination of the text and the music.
Yes.
Like, I think it was really well written, since it relies so heavily on the writing. It's good that they're able to convey a lot through the text.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was the one thing that was, and maybe one of the reasons why a lot of people really enjoyed this game. The writing was really well done. And like even though you're really not, the only thing you're really doing is like we talked about, interacting, hitting next on the dialogue, or throwing your die to a particular task. Like, you're still kind of compelled because of the writing. You're like, oh, this is interesting. Like, let me just keep going and see where this takes me. And that, I think, is a pretty good way to keep people motivated to keep playing the game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
How did you feel about the tutorial? I thought it was good at outlining each thing as you need it.
Yeah.
That's the way I like a tutorial to go. Don't hit me with 100 million things and then I have to remember them all.
Yeah.
When I need something, show me how to do it.
Yes.
And this game definitely does that.
I agree. It does kind of like, it does a good job of like pacing that stuff fairly well. And on top of that being like maybe 1 or 2 pages of text that you have to read through for the particular new skill that you're going to be using, but yeah, I think they did a good job, because, like, I mean, again, they're writing again, right? So it's just like they knew how to use the real estate that they were going to use. And with that, I thought also with the tasks, there is a good kind of risk reward kind of push pull. Like, okay, am I going to, because as you progress, like I'd say it's probably about 15-20 minutes into the game for me, like there's like 2 choices that happen where you kind of do things in the, I guess, physical world, for lack of a better term, and then there's like this like underground thing because and well, I'll kind of get into the story a little bit, but because you can kind of like hack or do something like that where you kind of access data. And the reason why you can do that is because you're essentially like a android, or and yeah, so you are kind of like a lower class citizen on this ship, and yeah, you're just trying to survive, like you mentioned, Tom, on your game loop. You're also kind of like you had a choice too at the beginning where it's like, do you want to remember who you were, or like think about the stuff that happened in the past, or like, just keep moving forward. You have those kind of choices that I guess affect how the story kind of progresses in the game. So it's pretty interesting. I got nothing else here on my likes here, if you want to move on to our dislikes.
This will be a little bit of a segue. So I appreciate that the game autosaves constantly because there is no manual save option. So there's my like, that I don't have to worry about it transitioning into my dislike, which is I like to be able to save my game whenever I want.
Yeah.
And you don't let me. So, man.
Yeah. Yeah. But speaking of game, I don't know. I didn't find any game really in this game.
My first dislike is it's a lot of reading. When does the game start?
Yeah, because like you just like you kind of go through pick your classes, like, oh wow, this is cool. Like the artwork for each of the classes was really fun looking and all this stuff. And then like you kind of go through this dialogue. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like we're just kind of like building our character and all this other stuff. And it just kept going. I was like, wait, what? This is the game? Like,
yeah, that's the game.
That totally threw me off. And again, don't get me wrong, the writing was very well done, but it was just like, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm just not a fan of visual novels or something like that, but it was just like, where am I going with this? Like, other than just clicking a bunch of choices and then waiting.
It did feel like it was building towards something, and that something kind of never occurs.
It just never happens. You're like, what the? Okay. And I mean, it's just all reading. I'm not taking away the fact that there's reading. I mean, I get it. Again, I appreciate the writing is very well done. But for me, it was just like, this was just reading. So people are just like, I was just so confused about why people really enjoy this game. Because the other part about this is you again, I kind of talked about it earlier, where like you are an android, you kind of just wake up and you're trying to survive. But like, I don't know, like for me, there was no like real connection to what was happening. Like it was weird. It was just a weird thing because like it was well written, but like I just wasn't connecting with what was happening. I didn't really care. I was like, oh, okay, I'm just kind of like trying to survive day by day. And then there was like some other thing that was like chasing you, and that was like another added pressure. But I was like, all right, I guess I'm just kind of going through the motions, picking a task for the day, and then going to sleep and seeing what happens. But I don't know how you felt about that. But that's just kind of like
I think it felt like for me. Perhaps because I am someone who enjoys tabletop gaming.
Okay.
Playing Dungeons and Dragons, playing other maybe board and card games that kind of lean in this direction, or this leans in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to get invested in the character. And
okay.
So my initial beef is, I was waiting for the game to start. And I guess once I realized that it was the game, I was able to move past that.
Mm-hmm.
But the game is just slotting dice and reading text. Like that is it. That is all you're doing. And because that's all you're doing it on a controller is not a great interface mechanic.
Yeah.
This is the kind of game that would play very well if you were sitting across from somebody on a table and you were rolling actual dice and putting them down in places.
Yeah.
Though even there, I think it is a little... There's not enough other mechanics, right? Like you roll a fair amount of dice in Dungeons and Dragons. Now there's times in Dungeons and Dragons where you're just talking the whole time and you're not rolling dice. And it definitely leans more in that direction than the other direction.
But I mean, I think the appeal also with Dungeons and Dragons is like you're interacting with other people. So you're kind of, it's not that you're not interacting with people in this game, but it's just you're kind of just going through the motions of choice A to choice B. Whereas like when you're interacting with people in a tabletop game, there's a choice Z if you really wanted to. And it's just like that kind of reaction and action reaction happens. So that's what it's like.
There are definitely boundaries here because it is the kind of medium that it is.
Right.
I suppose this is probably more like the choose your own adventure books that you might read, where you read a passage of text, then choose a choice at the end. And it's like, well, jump to page 36 if you pick this or that,
Yeah.
So it's similar to that.
And like the other part, I guess I was a little confused about the class choice. Like I didn't understand when that actually affected things. And there's also, we didn't really talk about it, there's an upgrade system that like once you complete a task, you get upgrades. So I'm like, okay, but does this actually help? Yes, I know there's like with the risk reward system, the type of die that you use can have a positive, neutral, or negative effect. And with that in mind, like you just have to like, and then the particular task has like a rating on it, whether it's risky or dangerous or like fine. And then that combined with your particular die that you use gives you like kind of an idea of like how you perform well on that particular task. But it was like, like I just didn't understand. Probably more of a smooth brain thing for me, but like I just didn't understand like how my class affected those things.
Well, there were modifiers, and again, I think if you came from the tabletop space, this would be much more apparent.
Got it.
But there were +1s and -1s and things depending on which class you were.
Oh yeah,
which made certain tasks harder or easier, or certain, paths.
Yeah, right. And like I remember when I did the upgrade, some things were locked out because I couldn't, because I guess that was my class's inability or whatnot, or already maxed out over that particular thing. So okay,
I think the game is very quiet. That's another negative for me. There's no voice acting. No. Right. This you could absolve or solve some of the reading by having some of it voice acted, but none of it is.
I honestly think you're like, if they had decent voice actors on this, or even just like robot, like I think that would have kept me a little bit more engaged in this. But I don't know.
I don't think everything needs to be voice acted, but this would have been something where maybe specific moments could have been voice acted to create that connection a little bit better.
Yeah. And it's fun. Like, again, like I know you hit it on the head with the whole choose your own adventure point of this game. Like I really like those type of games, or those like that style of book too, because like then it feels like you have choice. But and again, you do have choice in this game, but it's just like you're just kind of reading. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah, I think it is just because expectations are a big part. And I think we talk about that all the time. I think if you visually looked at this game without knowing what it is, you would think it's some kind of, like pixel-based action game, like an action RPG or something. And it's not.
No.
So it's like the cover lies to you here.
It's very deceptive. Very deceptive. Cool. Anything else here in our dislikes, Tom? Or
the only other thing that I put two things. One is you do have to pick a class before you kind of understand the game world. And as a consequence of that, there's lingo that they use in each of the classes that you haven't been taught yet. So you don't know what the currency is. And one of those words in there is the currency. So it's like things like that would have been helpful to know before I pick my class. And there are quite a few points in the time while I was playing where like it wasn't really clear to me what I should be doing. It was maybe a little too open-ended. And I feel like I could have put myself in trapped in a fail state where like if I made some bad choices, I could force the game to end, which to be fair, in a choose your own adventure book, there are paths that go to the end, right?
That's true.
And your character dies,
Yeah, that's very true. I agree with what your sentiment about what the heck am I doing now? Because there was definitely moments where I'm like, okay, what tasks should I be doing, or what task can I actually achieve? Because there are certain things that will have a timer, like based on this the cycles. Because there's no, like you mentioned, there's no really day-night cycle. It's just like if you've used all your die for the day, or you don't have any money, you're just like, okay, time to start the next cycle. So
you go rest and the cycle restarts.
Right. All right. I guess then we'll get to our other thoughts here. How Long to Beat says this game it can be completed in 6 hours. Okay. Fairly short game. And it is xCloud capable. So you can be playing this game on the go if you wanted to. Although there's a lot of reading, so don't be driving when you play this game.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably not play games while you're driving to begin with, but just saying.
Well, if you're someone like me, you wouldn't be able to, because there is so much reading. I get motion sickness, so I can't do the read while in transit thing.
All right. Well, good to know. All right. Anything else? What do you got here, Tom?
So I learned that this game has multiple endings depending on your choices. So your choices do matter. It was developed by one person in London. Apparently, there are 3 free DLC packs that were released. Oh. So good on them for me not knowing that, right?
Yeah.
That's a pro. It was nominated for quite a few awards in 2023. Not too surprisingly, most of these were about the narrative or the story elements. And I learned that there is a sequel in development with an anticipated 2025 release early in the year. So
very cool. Very cool. Good on.
Yeah, it was well received enough.
Yeah,
to
garner another sequel, another game in the series.
There you go.
Good job, Gareth. And all right, so now, Tom, we need to figure out: are we keeping this game on our respective hard drives, or are we letting it go out the airlock?
Yeah, so I didn't know it was only 6 hours before I made this decision. But the truth is, I don't think it really changes my mind. There's not really much game here. That might not be a problem. I am curious to see how the story plays out because my hour went by so quickly. So I kind of feel like I'll give it a little bit more time and see if I'm, invested by the end of hour 2. And if I'm not, I'll put this one to sleep.
Yeah. All right, cool. Look, I mean, like I said, I appreciate the atmosphere. I appreciate the writing. It was all great and very well done. And again, also impressive again that this is made by one person. But like you said, there's really not much game here. And I'll be honest, my first hour, the game was putting me to sleep. And because of that, I was like, I don't know if I can keep going with this. So I am actually going to pass on continuing Citizen Sleeper.
Made you drowsy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a great game if you want to go to sleep, but I don't know.
Well, it could be the kind of thing you read until you're ready for bed.
Yeah. It's just like, they say not to use screens, but if you're using Citizen Sleeper, it might take you to sleep.
Yeah. And then you get to ponder the do androids dream question while you dream yourself.
Fair point. So those are our thoughts. Let us know what you think of this game. Follow us and say hello on Twitter or Threads at TC1H1D or on Blue Sky at 1H1D. Because we got that over there. And check out our next streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/1H1D. And, we have an email if you want to shoot us an email at tc1h1d@outlook.com. And hey, if you're watching us on YouTube, check us, send us a comment down below and say, like, does the game get more intriguing, more inspired, like more and something happened more after hour 1 that we need to keep going and keep playing for because I'm curious to know because maybe I'll give it a fair shake. I don't know. There are games that definitely wait many hours until the inciting incident or something clicks for you, and it's something like that. And check out any of our other reviews on YouTube. We got a bunch of games, over 200 at this point. So that'd be kind of cool for you to check out. 1H1D is part of that QTB network. If you like any great gaming content, check it all out at quitthebuild.com/network.
Well, Chris.
Well, Tom.
I think we need to figure out what we're going to play for the next episode. A very special episode.
Very special episode because, this next episode is going to be dropping on Christmas.
Ooh, that's what happens when Christmas is on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's what happens, and we're gonna be doing something a little special because hey, you know what? There's a game that's coming out, or that has come out at this point, but that both of us are very curious to try, and that is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle.
I want to know what the circle's about.
Yeah.
And I definitely need to know what Dr. Jones is doing.
We need to know what Dr. Jones is doing and if this circle really is great. So
there's only one way to find out, Chris, and that is for us to play it.
That is for us to play it. You're absolutely right, Tom. So that is our next game. And that is it for this episode. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.